my name is Olivia Lake. Today I'm going to be doing a little short video about my final project for Psychology 101. The task was to pick one of the psychological disorders and then create a piece of artwork that we felt best represented that specific psychological disorder. So shortly I'm going to do a little evaluation of my pieces, but just to give a little bit definition of what my psychological disorder is. I chose bipolar 1 disorder. Long story short, it's when the person who possesses it goes through two separate, really far end of the spectrum feelings, one of which being a manic episode, which is irrational, sometimes can be dangerous, you need little sleep and you feel wired, and the other side being depressive, in a depressive state where you are sluggish and slow and sleep a lot and have really dark and sometimes scary thoughts. So I decided to just do a little bit of an abstract rendition of that, and I hope you enjoy a little bit of my analysis of my piece.
So first up here I have my manic themed piece. I have it hanging on the wall. It's kind of long. So it started out on just a regular gallery standard canvas, and I began with wrapping this silver duct tape on there, and then proceeded with adding that cellophane and then doing a little bit of hand stitching on there as well. So those parts were all just kind of in my opinion, reminiscent of the manic part of this disorder. And then I drew heavily on the wired aspect and created this 3D kind of wired eye with drawing on a little bit of what we learned about the anatomy of the eye. And I have a little bit down here, which you'll see in the depressive themed piece, is kind of ties the whole thing together. And yeah, I have a little bit of wire aspect, just using lots of different types of medium. The piece is supposed to be to be touched and to be used and looked at up close. It's not just for strictly viewing pleasure. And the last part that I feel is significant about why this represents this part of the disorder to me is the swinging element that I have of this colorful string, which I hand dyed myself to create this rainbow kind of effect. But it represents to me those mood swings that people who have bipolar 1 disorder experience. And so we have it kind of swinging over and then moving into the more depressive piece, which I will be showing you next. So here we have my depressive piece. You can kind of see my reflection in it. Once again, it kind of is a little bit bigger than the camera will allow me to show, but my reflection that's being shown is what I used, which was my epoxy element. In my paper that I wrote, my artist statement, I talked about how I added Braille onto this piece. It's still kind of able to be read in Braille fashion, but my whole point was to have that epoxy kind of cover it up, so even though not everybody understands Braille, even in this case, someone who could still wouldn't be able to fully grasp the concept of it. So another part of this piece was the push pin and safety pin aspect that I have, which represents that sharpness and that drasticness of the way that the depressive state makes the person feel. Lastly, on the piece that I'd say is an important part to know about it would be the fibrous element that I have on this one. Doesn't represent the swinging like the other one does. This one represents more of the blanket that professionally prescribed medication can provide for someone who has depressive bipolar 1 disorder. It kind of represents the part of it which could be handled by medication, that blanket, that feeling, kind of holding you together. I have all these pieces kind of going on here. So yeah, that's the whole second half of my project.